Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Go, Premanandi. A wicked mind brought me into this world, O Lord, but one of your pure and elevated devotees has come to bring me out.
He saw me so fallen and wretched, took pity, and came to me, saying, O humble soul, please listen to this good tiding, for it will gladden your heart.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya has appeared in the land of Navadvip to deliver you. He has safely conducted many miserable souls, such as you, across the sea of worldly existence.
To fulfill the promise of the Vedas, the son of the Brahma, bearing the name Mahaprabhu of golden complexion, has descended with his brother, the
Avadut.
Together they have overrun all of Nadia with divine ecstasy.
Sri Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself, the son of Nanda, has saved the world by freely distributing his own holy name. So go also and receive your deliverance.
O Lord, hearing those words, Bhakti announces now listening to the souls of your lotus feet and tells the story of his life.
Jai. Jai Saparika Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Sundara Radha Giridhari Ju Ki Jai.
Jai.
Namashestam Manama Pisachi Putramatta Sarupam Rupam Tasragrajam Urupurim Maturim Gostavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madavasham Prapto Yasya Pakita Kripaya Sri Gurum Tannatosmi Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakkuram Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha.
Devashis Prabhu ki
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Mukam karoti vatschalam pangam langayate girim jat kripa tamaham vande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Nice to see everybody. And I'm just going to switch my phone to silent because my mother will probably call me right in the middle of my talk. So, she usually does.
last time.
Yeah.
Every Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday is the day.
Well, yeah. Among Saturday and other days.
How old is she now?
She's like 84 or something, you know, and she's lives alone, so she likes to talk sometimes, you know.
And she's still good?
Yeah, she's very good, yeah.
Wow.
She walks a lot and cycles and
Really?
yeah. Yeah.
Cycling, that's good.
Yeah, much better than me. Anyway.
Old age, that's another thing to deal with, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to it, actually.
You're looking forward to it?
Yeah.
Well, if you're healthy and your mind is good, and that is no problem.
that your health impairs then.
Yeah. What I'm looking forward to is not that people won't expect so much of you anymore, you know.
Well, the thing in the devotee life, you always have to do. You have to keep going. There's no retirement.
That's true. That's true. But anyway.
And that's also saving grace.
Yeah, I have a friend, an old friend that I used to go to college with, and I met him a few years ago, and his father is a Christian priest. So, and he was surprised. Oh, I heard, we hadn't seen each other for like maybe 30 years. And he said, oh, I heard you joined the Hare Krishna movement. Oh, yeah, I did, yeah. He said, oh, why, didn't come and talk to me, like, my father's a priest, and, anyway, we had some good talk, and then I said to him, so how's your father? What's he do now, and he says, oh, he's retired now. I said, oh, okay, so what does he do every day? Just like in his greenhouse and with his plants, and says, does he like speak at the church? No, that's like, he's retired now, That was his job. He did his job. He's finished his job. Now he's like enjoying his life. And that's it's almost like back to front in our idea. Our idea is, like when you've finished your work and all of those things, all your obligations in this world, then you use your time for cultivating spiritual life. Of course, we're never done with the obligations of this world, but still, and that doesn't mean that, while you're fulfilling the obligations of this life, that you shouldn't cultivate Krishna consciousness. Like sometimes people think, oh, when I'm older, when I'm retired, then I'll have more time to do these things, like at my leisure. In India, sometimes they say Bhakti is for old men and women. That's what they say sometimes, like that, Like people who've got a lot of time on their hands, don't have so much to do, like they're not at the work, not at the office, not at all these things. But actually, there is no greater imperative in our life than our spiritual life, than our soul. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, as soon as you feel some symptom in your body of illness, immediately you go to the doctor, right? You hunt out some remedy, some medicine, like try and take care of it. Said, but we don't take any care of our soul. Because we can't perceive our soul, then we think everything's all right, there's nothing to worry about. But really, believe me, that's not true. The very fact that you can't connect with your own soul, that you're not able to perceive your own soul, that indicates that something's wrong. Because the soul can perceive itself. The only reason we can't see our own self is because we're covered by Maya. From time immemorial, in Srila Guru Maharaj's words, covered by acquired prejudice and acquired misconception and the conditioning of this material world. Those things have covered our soul. The soul is always pure, but the soul can be covered. And because of that, we don't even know who we are. We can't with any accuracy say who we are. What is our actual identity? Now, we can say, I'm a spirit soul. But that's just theoretical, actually. It's like the philosophical answer, the theoretical answer, the book answer. But actually, who are you? What is your nature? So Mahaprabhu was asked this question by a deeply learned man of great spiritual realization. But he wants to hear what is Chaitanya Dev's reply for our benefit. So he's asking for our benefit. Who am I? And Sanatan, Mahaprabhu, he replied to Sanatan, Jivara Sharupahoy, Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tatasta Shakti Beda Bed Prakash. You're the eternal servant of Lord Krishna. You are the spirit, the soul, the jiva. Jivara Sharupahoy, Nityara Krishnadas, and that means you're the eternal servant of Krishna. Once Srila Govinda Maharaj, he was giving a lecture at the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan in London, and the man who introduced him, he was like one of their men there, and he said, so, you know, we are all coming here from so many backgrounds. Some people, they like Lord Shiva, some people they like Lord Krishna, some people they like Ganesh, some people don't believe in anything, but today we are all Krishna Bhaktas, because here is a great Krishna Bhakta. So he was trying to say something good, of course. And of course, in the presence of Srila Govinda Maharaj, then, yeah, we must all become Krishna Bhakta, is true. But his idea was, you know, like for today. And tomorrow you can be whatever else, whatever the idea is about who you are. You can be that again tomorrow. But for today we are Krishna Das. But the truth is, we are all Krishna Das eternally. It is not like, you choose a god that you like or a goddess that you like and worship them, and you'll be their servant. That's also Maya. That's also Maya. As we hear from Guru Maharaj, you know, in Hegelian terms, if God exists, he must be for himself and by himself. So that means, for himself means, he only exists to fulfill his purpose, no second person's purpose. If he existed to fulfill somebody else's purpose, that person must be take the highest position. So he only exists to fulfill his own purpose. And that's Krishna. Krishna doesn't exist to fulfill any other purpose except for his own divine whimsical nature. Krishna is whimsical and unpredictable. And he exists only to fulfill his own desire, whatever that may be. That may or may not be known to us, what his desire is. So, similarly, that means that everything, if he is the absolute creator and Lord of all, and this is confirmed by Lord Brahma, the engineer of this world, you can say, the creator of this world, Lord Brahma, the first living being in this material universe. In his meditation, he heard this word tapa. He didn't know where he was, what he was meant to do, anything. But from the ether, he heard this word tapa. That means like to do austerity, to do some austerity. So he performed some austerity according to his inner inspiration, and from that he got the impetus to create the universe. But during that time, he also was initiated by hearing directly the flute song of Lord Krishna. And hearing that flute song of Lord Krishna, he understood himself to be the maidservant of Lord Krishna in the eternal realm. And the outpouring of his inner realizations, that came out in the form of Brahma Samhita. And Brahma Samhita was lost. In fact, it is in majority lost. The 5th chapter of Brahma, what we know as Brahma Samhita, is just the 5th chapter of Brahma Samhita. There are many chapters, but they are all lost in time. But the 5th chapter that was discovered and very much relished by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this book he used to take with him everywhere, Brahma Samhita. And the very first verse of Brahma Samhita, Ishara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Radi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. I worship Lord Govinda, who is the Parameshwara, the supreme controller of everything. And he is of the nature of Satchidananda. Satchidananda means eternity, consciousness and bliss. Satchidananda. And Guru Maharaj has correlated Satchidananda with Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. These three. Satyam, truth, auspiciousness and beauty is the nature of Lord Krishna. Satchidananda Vigraha. Anadi Radhi Govinda. He is the original primeval cowherd boy. Sarva Karana Karanam. And he is the cause of all causes. So he truly is for himself and by himself. You know, generally in Hinduism it is thought that Lord Krishna as the 8th avatar of Vishnu, as he shows himself in that way when he manifests in this world through the agency of Vishnu. But actually he is the cause of Vishnu as well. The origin of Narayan is Krishna. Somebody, Russian girl, she asked me, how is it that Krishna is the origin, or that he is the supreme? Because, you know, when we see Lord Vishnu's form with 4 arms and carrying the weapons, and we can understand, oh, that's God Almighty. And but Krishna is like, you know, only 2 arms, and, you know, not much like majesty, very informal, but that is actually the very nature of the Supreme Absolute in his most intimate manifestation. So we can say, you know, like I've given this example many times, like when Queen Elizabeth, when she goes for the, you know, the opening of Parliament or whatever it is, you know, and she goes down Pall Mall in her gold carriage, and, you know, she waves to the thousands of adoring subjects, and she goes to the Houses of Parliament. And I used to work at the Houses of Parliament, so there's 3 sections there. There's the House of Commons, the House of Lords, and the royal part of the palace. So the House of Commons is green. Everything's green. All the chairs are green, all the carpets are green, everything. That's how you know you're in that House of Commons. The House of Lords, everything's red. Red carpets, red chairs, red everything. The royal section of the House of Parliament, Houses of Parliament, is blue. Because blue is the colour of the monarch. So there she has her like quarters. She doesn't stay there, but she comes for some official business. She comes there. I took my daughter and my wife there to see during the Christmas break. It's all closed, you know, but I could go in because I had no pass, and we went in, and the head of the security there, he took them and showed them, this is the Queen's toilet. Only she can use it, you know, and it's actually quite humble, you know. It's like with wooden, and you know, and her hairbrush is there, and she has L'Oreal hair products. You'd be interested because she's worth it. But anyhow, when she goes to there, then she has like what's called her dressing room. And she goes in there and she puts on all the royal regalia, you know, the crown and the scepter and the ermine robe and all the rest of it. And she has a throne there, and she sits on her throne, you know, while she's there. And then she does all of that, like pomp and ceremony and everything, you know. And this is Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, the monarch of Great Britain, right? So when you see her like that, you think, wow, like that's the Queen, but is that her real nature? Or is that just something she assumes for public functions? We can say that that's the fact, really. And no doubt, I'm sure she gets some pleasure from that, all these people adoring her and worshipping her and all of that, and she's commanding everything. Sure, she gets some enjoyment, some pleasure from it. But, you know, when the day's over and she takes off the crown and she goes home and she puts her slippers on and puts her feet up with a cup of tea, watching, you know, EastEnders or whatever it is she watches on the, you know, I don't know what she does. But we can understand, you know, she's with her family, you know, maybe bouncing baby George on her knee or, you know, whatever. We can understand that this is her happy place. This is when she'll be herself, divested of all that pomp and ceremony and everything, in her like natural habitat, you can say, you know. And they won't all, maybe the servants will be still giving some honour and everything, but the family they won't be. Maybe Prince Philip calls her Liz or something, I don't know, you know. Do you want a cup of tea, Liz? I'm sure he doesn't make the tea, but you know. But you understand my point. And, you know, she'll have the family and friends, they may be able to joke with her and play with her. The children, maybe they like climb up on her lap and everything, you know. This is her in her natural habitat, you can say. So similarly, Krishna, when he's in the form of Narayan, Vishnu, showing Aishwarya, showing majesty and God Almighty, we can identify very easily, yes, this is God Almighty. But Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan is not so easy to understand. That it's called Aprakrita Leela. Aprakrita means, looks like the things of this world. So, you know, for all intents and purposes, he looks like one of those boys that herds the cows that you see from the train when you're traveling around in India. You see that boy with his stick and he's traveling. He looks like one of those, you know, one of those boys, except he's extremely beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, to all intents and purposes, that's what he does. His father is a cowman. And he looks after his father's cows. And, you know, he doesn't have all of that Aishwarya of Vaikuntha. He's just playing and, you know, decorating his hair with feathers and twigs and clay from the earth of Vrindavan, all of these things. The flowers that grow in Vrindavan he puts in his hair, and, you know, this is like the opulence of Vrindavan. Of course, there is opulence there. We sing this, or we recite this prayer every day, don't we? Dibyad Brindaranya Kalpadrumadha Srimad Ratnangara Singhasanasto Sri Gandharva Srila Govinda Devo Prashtali Bisevya Manusmarami. Ratnangara Singhasana, that means that Radha and Krishna, they sit together in a singhasan, like a throne made of jewels. So it's not that it's not there, it is there. But it's not prominent there. It's very hidden way. So this way we can understand that Lord Krishna, that's his most original form. Anadi Adi Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. Lord Brahma has given us this understanding. So Krishna exists for himself, for his own purpose. And by extension, everything in his creation, because he's Sarva Karana Karanam, that means the original cause of all causes. You know, as a child, I asked my mum once, if God created all of us, who created God? Then she said, he created himself. Sarva Karana Karanam, that means he's the cause of all causes. It's a childish question, but, you know, nevertheless. He's his own cause, and the cause of everything else. So, if he exists to fulfill his purpose, we also exist to fulfill his purpose. Because we're part of his creation. His creation, by extension, only exists to give him fulfillment. Therefore, we also exist only to give him fulfillment. And actually, that's our purpose in life. Not just our purpose, everyone's purpose. The purpose of whole creation. And the reason we have so much difficulty in this world is because we don't see that. We don't recognize that truth. We think, yeah, that's okay, Krishna exists. everything for his purpose, everything, but I've got my own purpose, And maybe that's not Krishna's purpose. Maybe I have my own purpose, my own ambitions, my own desires, my own things that I want to accomplish in this world. But let me tell you all, that's Maya. That's illusion. And really it is, it's illusion. To think that there's anything in this world that's worth accomplishing or striving for, anything, it's an illusion. Really it is. Okay, we're in this world, we have to deal with the things of this world. But let's not be under any illusion. That isn't what we're here for. That's not our purpose. Our purpose is to give him fulfillment. As part of his creation, we are meant to give him fulfillment. When we come to surrender to Sri Guru, at the lotus feet of Sri Guru, actually that's our pledge. Maybe we make some vow, or maybe we don't make any vow, depending, like who your guru is, what that. Sometimes there's a vow. I'll follow these principles, I'll chant this many rounds every day, or But actually the real vow that we make at the time of initiation is that I will use this life to serve Lord Krishna. That's the promise that we make, implicit. Whether we say that, or whether that's tacitly understood, that's our vow, initiation. Initiation, some people think, oh, that's it, I've got it now. I've got my mantra, I've got my beads, I've got my spiritual name, I'm a card-carrying member of the club now. And that's it, I'd made it, right? I did it. But to initiate something means to begin. Initiate means begin. So it just means we've been given an opportunity now. So it's like, again, I've used this example before, so forgive me if you've heard me say it before, but it's like, if you get accepted into a university, like maybe a prestigious university like Oxford or Cambridge or Harvard or something like that, right? They'll send you a letter. We've accepted you to be a student in whatever field it is at this university. And enrollment date is such and such and such. Please come. So fantastic! Look at this. I've got a letter accepting me as a student at Oxford. Like, what could be more prestigious? I'm going to put that in a frame. Put it in a nice frame. Put it up on my wall. And when your friends come round, look at that. Wow, fantastic. Like, what did you, no, I didn't go. I just stayed at home, but I got accepted, I got the letter. It's something like that. Initiation is your letter of acceptance. You've been accepted to study in the Bhagavat school, same school as Shukadev Goswami, the same school as Vedavyas. This is the school that you've been accepted to study in. But if you don't show up and you don't, follow the curriculum, what a waste, what a waste. The difference is, of course, is that your letter of acceptance to Oxford or Cambridge or Harvard or wherever it is, that's going to expire. If you don't turn up on the enrollment day, it's going to expire. But the difference is, once you've been accepted into this school of Krishna consciousness, it's forever. And even if you don't show up on enrollment day and don't do anything, you've been accepted. You can still take up that seat anytime you want. But why would we be so foolish as not to take advantage of that? And really, I take this example from in the time of Srila Guru Maharaj, one of his foremost devotees. His name is Hari Charan Prabhu, and he was one of the early disciples of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And one day he went to Srila Govinda Maharaj. They're like god brothers, and he went to Govinda Maharaj and he said, I'm thinking of leaving the Mott and finishing my degree at college, you know. Then I'll get an MA. At the end, I'll have MA. I'll be Hari Charan MA. And I think, you know, that'll be really good for preaching and everything, you know. People will listen if you're an MA, you know. Like, what do you think? And Srila Govinda Maharaj said, have you discussed this with Guru Maharaj? I said, no, I haven't. I said, let's go and talk with Guru Maharaj and see what he says. So they went. Haricharan Prabhu put his proposal. I think it'll be really good, you know, if I get this qualification, all these things. What do you think, Guru Maharaj? And Guru Maharaj said, so you want to get an MA, a mundane qualification recognized in this world, and to do that, you want to leave the school of Shukadev, the school of Vedavyas, Mahaprabhu's own school. You've been accepted into, you want to leave that and to get this mundane qualification. Is that what you're telling me? Then Haricharan Prabhu said, okay, I understand. I won't be going, I won't be continuing my so-called education there. So, and it's no exaggeration, really it's no exaggeration. This is, you know, like, we don't understand what kind of fortune we've been given by being accepted in this line. Really we don't. And you know, and seriously, one time when I was with Srila Govinda Maharaj in Green Street, we were upstairs and it was just he and I, maybe, I don't know, someone else, I don't know. But he, you know, leant forward in his chair and he said to me, Prabhu, anyone who stays in the line of Srila Guru Maharaj, they must get the service of Rupa Manjari. And I'm like, whoa, you know. Then, and he's like, what do you think, you know? And I said, wow, Maharaj, I just like wish I understood what that meant, you know. But I do understand that that's the highest aspiration of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, to be accepted in the service group of Rupa Manjari. And, you know, and Gurudev saying, this is like my assurance to you, is anyone who stays in Guru Maharaj's line, they must get this. So like two things came in my thinking. One was that, like, how wonderful and fortunate and inconceivably fantastic that is. But conversely, then it came into my mind, like, what does it mean to be in the line of Guru Maharaj? Just that we, you know, just that we show up. Is that what it means? You know, or does it mean something else? I kind of think it's a bit of both, really. You know, because Srila Govinda Maharaj, he is so merciful that he wanted to keep everybody in the line of Guru Maharaj. So much so that, you know, I heard him a few times say, if I told everybody what Krishna consciousness really is, no one would stay, everyone would leave. So I'm not telling that because I don't want anybody to leave. So, you know, then really, from that side, it's about like who he accepts. Who he accepts, we can say they're in the line of Guru Maharaj. But also at the same time, there has to be something from our side as well, you know. Maybe Krishna's like so infinitely merciful, and he is. We can't conceive like how merciful and kind he is. We can't conceive it. But still, you know, something is necessary from our side. Srila Gurudev say, you know, surrender doesn't just mean like to surrender and lie down, but surrender and serve. So this is also important. And, you know, like when somebody asks Srila Sridhar Maharaj, like, how can we please you? One of my godbrothers asked Guru Maharaj this question, how can we please you? And, you know, I don't know what he was expecting Guru Maharaj to say. I suspect he was expecting to hear something like Prabhupada would say. And everyone, I'm sure everyone in this room would know the answer if someone asked Prabhupada, how can we please you? I'm sure everybody in this room would know what his answer would be. It would be distribute my books, right? That was like the main thing that he would say. If you want to please me, distribute my books. So maybe he was expecting Guru Maharaj to say something like similar to that. But Guru Maharaj's reply wasn't that at all. Guru Maharaj's reply was, first of all, like he thought about it, like that question. And almost his immediate reaction was, please me? Like, why would you want to please me? Oh, okay, you're a disciple, I'm the Guru. Yeah, like now. Okay. But it was almost like the question was almost absurd to him initially, like why would you want to please me? You know. But anyway, then when he was like, okay, as Guru and disciple and like that, then I can look at it from that angle, you can say. And then Guru Maharaj he thought for a few minutes before making his reply. And then his reply was, what I am for what I am living, that what I have heard from my Guru Maharaj, I think that to be so vitally important that I want to give every last drop of my blood for that, my every breath for that, my every waking moment only for that. And if you can do that also, that will please me. So really we can say, ultimately, that's what it means to be in the line of Srila Guru Maharaj, of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So, you know, like, it's kind of depressing in one sense, you know, for somebody so kind of far away from that as I am. But the other side is that when we go to Srila Govinda Maharaj, he's like, no, just stay, you know, just stay, be with us, and I'll take you there. So, you know, then, what can we say about that, you know? Ultimately, it's all about the mercy of Guru and Krishna and connecting with that merciful flow. But
sir, isn't it also, if sometimes we got a glimpse of that, right? We have a little bit taste of that. And then we know there's nothing better than that.
yeah. And that's also by the grace of Guru and Krishna that we get that glimpse, if you like. But you know, the Maya is so strong. Daiviyesha gunamayi mama maya dharatya. Nobody can cross over this Maya, Krishna says, because she's my divine energy. No, not one person can cross over that by their own strength. Only if I tell her, like, you leave that person, then they can see, then they can cross over very easily this Maya and enter the spiritual abode. But we have to have faith that Krishna didn't put us in this world just to suffer eternally. He has some plan and prospect for us, some reason for us. And ultimately it only comes down to one thing. Again, His sweet will. And one thing we heard from Guru Maharaj which was really encouraging, and I keep going back to this again and again and again, like a hint, a clue, that if you think, right, that everything exists to fulfill His purpose, including our own selves, including this material world, that's also meant for His satisfaction, the material world. So then someone may say, well, how is that? You know, isn't it just the place where all the fallen souls are like stored away so that they don't cause any trouble? You know? So, and in one sense that's true. You know, it's the prison. This material world is the Durga. Durga means prison. And those who didn't accept Lord Krishna's service with a loving and willing heart who wanted to come here to fulfill their own desire or their own like separate interest, of which of course there is none, only the illusion of, then this place is for them. This place is for them. You know, you can't have the rebels all living in Goloka Vrindavan, because that would cause a big disturbance. So we're all put in this place. But why? Why? I mean, he could have just like snuffed them all out, you know. It's not that there's any like loss to him. There's like innumerable living beings that are willingly giving themselves for his satisfaction. Why those that didn't want that, for whatever reason, let's not get into that, that's a whole nother conversation, but for whatever reason, those who wanted something separate to that, they're given this place to go to. Why? You know, this is also like, forgive me for this example, because it's not a nice example, but you know, when you may have seen, you know, they have in the hatchery, it's quite horrible, when the baby chicks are born, right? These lovely little yellow chicks, they all come down a conveyor belt in the farm, and somebody sitting on the conveyor belt, they can tell it's a male or a female. They've been trained to know. I couldn't tell, I'm sure most of us couldn't tell, but they can tell, right? Just at a glance, male, female, male, female. So all the females, off they go, down the line. All the males, straight into a grinder. Because they're useless to the chicken man. He only needs one cockerel, right? And wants chickens, egg-producing chickens. So all the males down the grinder, grind. They're all finished. That's how they do it. And please forgive me for that example. It's a horrible example, but it could have been like that, right? All those wanting Krishna's service, off you go, off to Goloka Vrindavan, all the rest of us, through the grinder, like finish them, poof, 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 poof. No more problems for Krishna. He doesn't have to send anybody to try and liberate them, anything, you know, just like accept the ones that want them. But he doesn't do that. Why? Okay, you can say that is true, that he loves all of his creation equally, we can say. So he can't put anything that he's created down the grinder. But, I mean, it could be done in a much nicer way than that. You could say, just like, don't exist anymore. But he didn't. He made this whole material world for all of us to come in and live out our lives of illusion. Why? Punishment? No. Because he loves us, yeah. But what is the proof of that? Like, how does that translate into love? You know, like when we're all suffering here in illusion and going through so many things, you know, like recently I was thinking, last year, like so many of my dear friends died last year. And this year also. Shobhana Krishna Prabhu just a week ago. And so many, you know. And it gives you pause to think about your own mortality. You know, like when you're young and you think you're invincible and going to live eternally, you don't think about that much. But now, you know, I come to the age where like all the devotees I know, they're all disappearing. My friends, they're all leaving the world. And so I've come to that understanding now, that, which is the truth always, but you know, starkly you're reminded that it's not a question of if, but only when. And we're all in the queue, you know, we're all lining up for that inevitable hour where we will all die. And it's kind of been on my mind quite a bit recently. And I think to myself, you know, I have no fear at all of death. I don't have any fear of death, but I do have fear of birth. That really freaks me out, you know. The idea, you know, like, you know what it's like, just to be like an hour somewhere you don't want to be. How hellish that can be, isn't it? You know, you have to go to some appointment or some function or something for an hour, and it's like the most hellish thing on earth. But can you think you're going to be stuffed into a womb for 9 months? That's going to be horrible. That really, like, that does my head in, you know. And then when all of that's finished and you come out, you're just this like completely ignorant creature with no idea about anything because of the trauma of your birth. Everything that happened in this life, you've forgotten it all. It's like start again. I don't know if you play computer games, where it's like, you know, you've reached level 13, you know, and then something happens, right back to you die, you go right back to the beginning, you have to start all over. It's very frustrating, horrible. And that's just a computer game. This is life, right? You don't get like to reset. You just go right back to the beginning, start all over again. Who would want to do that? Who would want to go through all that? Like all those years at school, all those, oh, no, come on. That scares me more than the idea of death, really. All of that does, you know. And any sensible person should be afraid of that, I think. Anyhow, so is that all it's about? Why has Krishna put us in this situation to do all that? And someone will say, oh, well, he didn't do it, we put ourselves in there because of our misuse of free will, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, sometimes you think maybe the grinder would have been better, you know, than all of this. So why? And Guru Maharaj has given us like a really wonderful clue about that. That there he's mentioned that the only reason this material world exists is to facilitate the Leela of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because his Leela is the Adarja Leela, right? The distribution of Lord Krishna's Madhurja Leela and in Guru Maharaj's words, the Lord's loving search for his lost servants. That he comes to this material world to rescue everybody. That's his rasa. That's the very thing that Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev does. His raison d'etre, you can say. Of course, there may be another raison d'etre which is deeper. You know, that Radha Mahima, all of that. You know, that's on another level. But at least as the Gora Avatara, he has come to rescue the fallen souls. And there's no fallen souls in the spiritual world. So he's got to have somewhere where he can come to do that, isn't it? And that's why this material world exists. Only to fulfill Mahaprabhu's Leela of rescuing the fallen souls. And that's us. So this is great, isn't it? That he's coming for me. He's coming for you. He's coming for every one of us. And just like that, you know, the US Marines, they say, you know, no man left behind. That's also his motto. No one to be left behind. He's coming to rescue everyone. So, you know, when I was a kid, we used to go to the church, and sometimes they have like these preachers would come and they would put a big tent in the field, and we'd all go along and sing hymns and things, you know. And they used to call it the Good News Tour. The Good News Tour, and that was the whole thing, was come and hear the good news. And that's really, Krishna consciousness is about telling everyone the good news, that everyone is going to be rescued by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everyone is going to be saved, and everyone is going to go to the eternal abode to live with Lord Krishna eternally in ever-increasing joy and happiness. Everyone, nobody excluded. Not one soul will be excluded from that. And that's the reason why this material world exists. All the other reasons are secondary. The prison, the this, the that, all of that. The primary reason is so that Mahaprabhu can rescue us, come and rescue us, come and bring us back to our original consciousness, you can say. Original consciousness, Krishna consciousness. It's marvelous, it's fantastic, it's wonderful. And it's real, it's reality. So there's no reason to be depressed or worried about life in this material world. It's only when we lose sight of that connection that we face problems in this material world. Because everything else is only, temporary. It'll pass. Everything will pass in this material world. Everything that you cherish and everything that you hold dear to you will pass away. And similarly, everything that you hate and everything that causes you suffering, that'll also pass away. In Jaiva Dharma, this is mentioned, has been mentioned in there. And the questions asked, so we are forced to suffer just for the sport of God? Just for His enjoyment? Does that sound like a good proposal, like a merciful God? Why He would put us in this position to suffer? Because Babaji, Vaishnava Babaji, he says, when the Lord sees the suffering of the jiva soul, He's drawn to come and rescue them. And the reply is, so just for His satisfaction, we are put into all sorts of suffering. Doesn't sound like a good proposal. And then his reply is, it's only because you have short-sighted vision. So when you're in the midst of something, like this life seems like a really long time, but in the face of eternity, it's nothing. It's like a blinking of an eye. That's relativity. Einstein's theory of relativity. My daughter asked me one day, what's the Einstein's theory? So I don't know. I don't understand that. If I understood that, maybe I'd be, a wealthy man, a professor at some university or something. I don't know. But we can say, in a nutshell, that Einstein's, what he's saying is that everything is relative. That nothing is in this world has an absolute value. So we can say, that it takes 1 hour to travel from here to there. But how long is an hour? You can measure it by time. But if you're in the car going somewhere and that 1 hour can pass really quickly if you're with your friends or your family and you're laughing and joking, and an hour can go just like that, can't it? But when you're in some situation where that you don't want to be, and that like work, you get to work and you start at 9 o'clock and you're like, oh God, it's only 20 past 9. I feel like I've been here forever, So, everything is relative according to your perspective. And nothing here is absolute. So even our suffering in this material world, it's relative. And when you compare that to what's waiting for us, that blissful, ever-increasing blissful existence in the service of the Lord, that you just shake that off like it was a dream, Like sometimes we have a really bad dream, and you wake up in the morning, and you just shake it off, don't you? And then, half an hour later, you can't even remember what it was. But when you were going through it, it seemed like it was something really terrible or really important, or Sometimes when I wake my daughter up for school, she said, "I've been a really important dream, Dad. So I've got to get back to the dream, But once they're up, they forget that dream. So it's something like that, While we're living in the midst of a dream, actually, the soul is although we appear to be awake, the soul's actually in a dream state. This whole material world, in one sense, is like a dream. We're going from one situation to another, but actually has nothing to do with reality, ultimately. Of course, conversely, ultimately it has everything to do with reality. But you know, all of the things taken by themselves, they're not real. They're just, because they're temporary. They're just a phenomenon. And phenomenon comes and phenomenon goes. And, you know, happiness, suffering, all of these things, they come and go. Matra sparshas to kunteya ashita snar sukha dukkha agama payino nityas tam titiksha shabharata. Happiness and distress, they're just a product of the mind. And they're coming to you whether you want them to or not. So all you can do, just Krishna says, like the summer and winter seasons, they're coming. Nothing you can do to prevent them, nothing you can do to make it happen. So don't worry about it, just tolerate it. That's Krishna's advice. And similarly, Saraswati Thakur says, what's coming to you according to your karma in this life, there's nothing you have to do to make that happen. Nothing. And similarly, there's nothing you can do to prevent it from happening. It's already there. It's already, you know, like in the works. It's coming to you. This amount of happiness, this amount of suffering is coming to you. So don't worry about it. Don't focus on it. Don't make your life all about trying to mitigate your suffering and increase your enjoyment. Because that's a fool's errand. You can't enjoy more than you're due to enjoy, and you won't suffer more than you're due to suffer. And both of them are just temporary phenomenon that will pass anyway. So don't make that the focus of your life. But everybody makes that the focus of their life, don't they? They're always planning to get the maximum enjoyment out of their life, and they're always planning to mitigate their suffering as much as possible. You know, we're planning for that luxury holiday, we're planning for, you know, that new extension on the house, we're planning for this, we're planning for that. We're going to buy this appliance which will make us much more happy than we are now. You know, like, why am I like washing up every night and I can buy myself a nice dishwasher, put everything in there, and then the machine will do it for me. I'll be happy then, you know, like, why, you know, like, we're calculating like this all the time. And not only that, all of the media is bombarding us with ideas that, you know, if you got this, you'd be happier. If you got this 60-inch plasma screen TV, you'll be happy then. You'll be able to enjoy it much, the reality of the colours, and it'll be so much better. And you're thinking, yeah, that sounds like that's a really good idea. I think that'd be great to be able to see my favourite TV show in that, like, fantastic. But when you get it, it's like, can't even tell the difference how it was before and how it is now, or whatever it may be, right? We're always calculating, and we're always being bombarded with, you know, like propaganda to make us go in that way, you know. So this is what will make you happy. This is what, and always like that's like that carrot hanging in front of us, and we're running after that, you know. That happiness is just around the corner. Just over the brow of that hill, there's this place called happiness. Keep going, you're almost there. You're almost there. And then you die. And then you have to start all over again. And that's not what we're meant to be doing. Really, it's not. Like, don't get caught up in that. Don't believe all that. It's not real. But everybody believes it, right? Your school teachers teach you that. The politicians teach you that. Your parents teach you that. All of these things. You have to do all of these things. You have to get on this conveyor belt, you know. Get a good education, get qualified, get yourself a good job, then get yourself a nice partner, wife, husband, whatever, you know, then you can get a nice car, you can get a nice house, you'll be happy, you'll be fulfilled. But are you fulfilled? With all of those things or without all of those things, will you be happier? We think that those things will make us happy, but do they make us happy? And not having those things, does that also make us happy? To a degree. Everything has a degree of truth to it. When Tony Blair was the Prime Minister, he appointed some lord as the happiness czar for the government.
Happiness what?
Czar. So, and his portfolio was, his remit, find out what makes people happy. And we want to implement that in government, somehow to try and make the people happy. If you've got a happy people, then everything will be good. So anyway, he spent 2 or 3 years researching all of this, going to all the places where they consider the people are the happiest in the world. In fact, I think that it's Bhutan is meant to be the happiest place in the world. And the reason they attribute that is because they don't have much technology. Interestingly.
They have Ministry of Happiness.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So anyhow, but he found, his research found, and the first thing he found was that this equation that we all have in our mind, that wealth and independence equals happiness. That's what we think. That's what we're taught to believe. Wealth and independence equals happiness. But his conclusion was, no, that's not true. To a degree it's true, but not entirely true. So, for example, if you just live in the gutter and you've got nothing to eat every day and no shelter and everything, if you give somebody, raise their wealth a little bit so they can afford a place to stay, some food and everything, they'll be happier than they were living in the gutter. But it reaches a point where, like a saturation point, more wealth doesn't make you happier. Prabhupada used to say that all the time, right? You may be Rockefeller, but you can only drink 1 cup of coffee and eat 2 pieces of toast for breakfast. It doesn't, because you've got all that wealth, doesn't give you more capacity to enjoy your life. To some degree, it's true, it will do, but not entirely. So it's a flawed equation, because with all of those things we can still be totally miserable with all of those things. So there has to be some other point to life, not just being the successful rat in the rat race. That won't give you fulfillment. It might give you something, I just bought a new car, right, a couple of weeks ago, and people at work, they were saying, you must be really excited about it, aren't you? And I was like, it's a car, I can't, how excited could you be? But they're thinking that that's really exciting, a new car, really exciting, because to them that's exciting. One of my friends at work, he told me that his goal, and he shows me the picture, right, is to buy this Bentley convertible car. And he lives in a house in Croydon, and he wants to buy this. This is the car that the Queen has, right? A different model, but she goes in a Bentley. And I'm sure she doesn't care less that she goes in a Bentley or not. But this he wants to buy, and he's showing me, it's and it costs something crazy money, 4 or 5 times the value of his house, maybe more. And I said, well, are you going to drive that to work every day? Are you? To Greenwich Council? And he says, no, I wouldn't drive that to work. No. And I said, well, what are you going to do with it? He said, wouldn't you be afraid? Wherever you park it, you'll be afraid that when you come back, someone's stolen it, or that somebody's scratched it, or wouldn't that just increase your anxiety? And he said, I've got a garage, I'll just keep it in my garage at home, and once or twice a year, I'll take it out for a drive. like wave to the people. Like, I'm in my car. The rest of the time I just keep it in the garage, but that will make me happy. And I said, and you don't think that's like insane? He got a bit angry then, I just joked it off, but I said, come on, better things you can do with your money surely than that. No, that's my ambition. That's what's going to make me happy. And he's really convinced about that's going to make him happy. That's Maya. All of this is all Maya, What do you need? So, like my boss says to me, when I bought the car, I pay for it today, but I can't take it the same day. I told her, I have to go back and pick it up. And she said, oh, so what, do you want to take the day off to go and get it? I said, no, I'll just pick it up on Saturday. She said, you won't be able to wait till Saturday, you're bound to be too excited about it. Like, it's a car. Anyway. We shouldn't get too excited about the things in this material world. And conversely, we shouldn't get too distressed about the things in this world either. Because everything is happening as it's meant to happen. We should try and be a little bit aloof from all of those things, and accept what comes to us as the will of the Lord. Whether that's happiness or whether that's suffering is ultimately meant for our benefit. And once you can see that, right, so it's not a fact that we can say, oh, like, why are you making me suffer, Lord? Why are you making me do this? Sometimes we feel like that, or, especially when we're suffering. When something happiness comes to us, the new car, the lottery win, whatever it might be, we're like, thanks, Lord. You're so kind, you're so merciful, But when the suffering comes, why are you making me suffer like this, Lord? I'm faithfully trying to serve you. Why are you making me suffer? But taktena kampaya shushamikṣamanu. In Bhagavatam, Krishna says, or Uddhava actually says, those who see that whatever comes in front of them is behind that is the merciful hand of the Lord, the smiling face of the Lord is behind that. They accept everything that comes to them and try to see what that means. What lesson is the Lord trying to teach me? In which way is He trying to benefit me? Because remember, we're dealing with Krishna, the sweet absolute. There's not even a trace of vindictiveness in His nature. He won't do anything that's not necessary for you. And even suffering sometimes is necessary for you. To teach you a lesson, to make you stronger. They say that all the time, right? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But there's some truth in that. And if we can see that behind whatever happens to me is the will of the Lord, then we can accept it in that way, then we'll see everything as a blessing. As Guru Maharaj says, the environment is our friend. It's not trying to cow us down. It's not trying to, defeat us. It's helpful to us. It's all we have to do is change our perspective of how we receive that. Was that, what's his name? That psychologist, R.D. Lang, is it? Anyway. Eckhart Tolle. Everybody's heard of him, right? So he says, it's not the thing that's coming to you that's good or bad. It's how you relate to it, how you react to it. You don't have any control over what's coming to you, but you do have some control over how you react to it, what comes to you in that way. So if we try to see that everything is coming from my Lord to help me, then we won't find any problem with anything. And even suffering, we can take that in a positive way. So, and it's not just a theoretical thing, it's a practical thing. It's a practical thing, that we want to understand Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means to be conscious of Krishna. That means that nothing that happens to me is separate from Krishna, not outside of Krishna's will. If I can accept that one vital point, then I'm good. I'm good about it. Everything's good then. Everything's good. Guru Maharaj says the problem comes when we see something other than Krishna. We think it's something other than Krishna. Oh, they did this to me, they did that to me. I hear that from people all the time. Yeah, they did this, he did that, she did that. Always apportioning blame to somebody else. But everything that comes to you is because of something you've done. So, Guru Maharaj said, the bad workman, there's the English phrase, the bad workman argues with his tools. So, if he does a bad job, he says, oh, my drill wasn't broken, or, he blames the tools, right? But Guru Maharaj, it's just because he's a bad workman. Nothing to do with the tools. Because if you're good, even with bad tools, you can make a good job. But Guru Maharaj, took that phrase and altered it. A bad workman quarrels with his stools. That means, you ate something, and the reaction for that is it comes out in the form of stool. But you can't say, that was a really delicious meal, and then when the stool comes, oh, that's disgusting, It's just happening. It's just a part of the process that's happening. One of our godbrothers, he said to me once, he was going mad in his brain. He said, why, it's like Mahaprasadam. How can it come out as stool? How is it possible like this, It's just the function, He couldn't get his head around that. But you can't argue with that. You see, what's come is a result of what you've done. So it might not be very pleasant, but it's unavoidable. So, and similarly, whatever comes to us, it's unavoidable. It's an unavoidable result of something that we've done, good or bad. But if you can take it as being more than that, that behind that is the loving hand of the Lord, then you can take it as a blessing, as a lesson. Yeah, and once, I remember when I was with Guru Maharaj, he was having his afternoon massage. And this is a little, private, I suppose. And of course, they're recording me and broadcasting that. So I hope Guru Maharaj will forgive me. But during the massage, he passed a little stool while he was having the massage, and when he got up, you could see it through his dhoti. And he realized what had happened also, And I was there with the man who was the devotee who was giving him massage, just us. And then Guru Maharaj going to the bathroom. And when Guru Maharaj came out of the bathroom a little later, then he said this thing. He said, even he wasn't meaning himself, but we take it as himself. Even when the Mahabhagavat passes stool, that has something to do with Krishna's Leela. So, then we can understand, they have that idea, don't they? The butterfly effect. Something happens here and it has some... So everything is related with Krishna. Everything is ultimately related with Krishna. Nothing is separate from Krishna. So whatever is coming in our front to us is meant to teach us, meant to purify us. And it is necessary for us. Not only unavoidable, but necessary for us. And sometimes, our faith doesn't allow us to understand that. Even Lord Jesus, right, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, the night before he was crucified, and he's praying to the Lord, and he says, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. In other words, like, let it go, let somebody else do it. I don't really want to do it, you know. But then his courage came and he said, no, as your will, not as my will. So that's, you know, like, who is he and who are we? Then in our life, our weakness, our lack of faith will make us fearful of something. But if we take courage and understand that the Lord is all good, all merciful, all in our favor, always in our favor, then we can accept everything. And happily we can accept everything. Of course, we can say it, but not so always so easy to practice that. But at least in hindsight we can try and see that. You know, when you're in the midst of something, it's very difficult to deal with that always. But when it's past, and it will pass, everything will pass, then we can at least try and look at it like dispassionately and try and see in which way was the Lord trying to benefit me when that happened to me.
We have seen that in everything that happens in our life in the past, right?
Yeah, you see it like that. You're a Krishna's devotee, must see like that. But you know, our nature is that we're always trying to blame everybody else. Oh, because they did that, then that happened to me. Because they did that, then this is what we do, and this is what causes so much problems in life. You know, like, not talking just in Krishna consciousness. Generally, we see that. Oh, they're immigrants coming over here, taking our jobs, taking our... Oh, like, what's going on with you? You want to blame it on somebody else. Yeah, that guy from Africa with the PhD, he got the job that I could never get anyway because I'm just a labourer. But I'm going to blame him because... You understand? Yeah, coming over here, taking our jobs, all these people. You know, like, come on. What happens is what's meant to happen. Nobody to blame but ourselves. Then this is healthy. It's a very healthy way of looking at things. No one else to blame, only me. And when we see that, then very quickly we can be free from that. Because as long as we try to ascribe blame on others, then that entangles us more and more in like a spider's web. You know, like always moving this way and moving that way, and we're becoming more and more entangled in that. But rather, become still and try to understand the will of the Lord. And when we can understand that, then we can see the path by which we can become free of that entanglement. Anyway, sorry, the time has gone again. So,
may I ask a question?
Of course, yeah.
Regarding that Tatenukampa verse, I think it's such a beautiful consideration and such a big achievement to be able to live like that. But I find also often like the tricky part to be, okay, the acceptance that this is happening, this is the will of the Lord, His merciful, beautiful glances behind everything.
Yeah.
But then how am I to respond? And that actually is less abstract and much more specific. Each and every instance requires a particular meditation as to how to act.
Yeah.
And we're not to simply tolerate sometimes and be passive. But as the Gita says, one must act. One must, respond in a sense. Can you please advise how we can deal with this?
Well, you already answered your own question, really. You have to meditate and try and understand. With prayer and meditation, to try and understand what that specific incident means to me in my own life and how I'm to respond to that. You can pray and meditate, and also you can ask the advice of those devotees that you trust. Because we don't live in a void, you know. We live in a society. So then we can always take advice of those who have more experience than us, so that maybe their vision is clearer than ours. They may be able to see that. We see, you know, like in the case of like Srila Prabhupada, right? A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, he came to Guru Maharaj. He said, "Oh, I've been reading this in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, where Krishna says, you know, if the Lord favors you, He can give you everything that you desire. But if He loves you, He may take everything away from you and leave you destitute." And he said, "I'm feeling that maybe this is what's happening to me." And Guru Maharaj said, "Yes, it is definitely what's happening to you." So, you know, like his business was failing, his family were like rejecting him, and all of these things. But he came to Guru Maharaj. He has some feeling that this is how it is, but he came to Guru Maharaj, and Guru Maharaj confirmed, yes, this is. And that began his path of then from that he decided, now I should take sannyas, now I should leave the family, and you know, the rest is history. So, you know, we don't live in a void. We don't live, you know, on an island. We have access to the whole world now, you know, with the internet and everything. You know, it's not like back in the 1980s, and this happened so many times that, you know, some controversy would come up in the mission, and it'd be doing my head in so much, you know, and the only thing I could do, right, jump on the plane and go and talk to Guru Maharaj. So, you know, like a 3,000-mile journey. You don't even need to do that anymore, do you? You know, it's like, "Dear Maharaj," you know. and within 24 hours or so, you'll probably get a reply. But, so, you know, the world has become very small now through technology and everything, and we can utilize that in the service of the Lord and for our own benefit. But so really, you know, that's the answer. Pray, and prayer is very powerful, actually, you know. My experience is that if you pray sincerely, desperately, the Lord will give some response to you. And meditate. Yeah, you know, like to try to understand through meditation. That's what meditation means, actually, you know. To try and understand something deeper. It's just not, I don't mean like, you know, stare at the tip of your nose or stare at a candle or something like that, but try and understand. Refer to the scripture. The scripture's living too, you know. Everybody says, oh, it's passive and so on, you know, but, you know, sometimes you can just open the scripture and the answer will be right there in front of you. The answer that you wanted. And the answer's not always what you expect. So, sadhu, guru, shastra, all of these things, they're there to help us. And our own sincere intention, the sincerity of our heart is necessary too. Because we can go on endlessly deceiving ourselves too. You know, and thinking that that's the will of the Lord, convincing ourselves that that's the will of the Lord, some self-deception. We're very prone to doing that. That's the danger. That's why, you know, we're not to take so much the advice of the Chaita Guru, because often we mistake our mind to be the Chaita Guru, you know, the Lord in the heart. So, you know, we have to be attentive to that, and also attentive to what is the will of the Lord. Sometimes, even when we ask the question to our Guru, we don't want the answer. We want something else. And what I mean by that is, you know, like for example, I can give you an example. When one of my god sisters, her mother came to see Guru Maharaj, right? Her mother's this wealthy lady from Bristol. And she wants to see, like, who is this man that my daughter's become involved with? Like a guru, you know, like I want to know who he is, you know. So she's coming to the mott to meet Guru Maharaj, to Navadvip, yeah. So, and Guru Maharaj is like, yeah, two of her daughters were his disciples. So Guru Maharaj, okay. Then when she came, she's like this English lady, elderly English lady, and Guru Maharaj made a place for her on his veranda, and she would take prasadam with him twice a day. Guru Maharaj doesn't take prasadam with anybody. He just by himself takes prasadam. But they made like a table for her, knife, fork and spoon and plate, like, you know, like no sitting on the floor with a banana leaf. Like proper, like English, you know, Western style. And Guru Maharaj would take prasadam and she would sit with Guru Maharaj. She was there for about a week and she would take prasadam every day with Guru Maharaj. And we didn't get that kind of fortune to take prasadam with Guru Maharaj, but she's every day taking prasadam with Guru Maharaj. And talking with Guru Maharaj, asking questions, everything, you know. Anyway, so she's quite wealthy and she got kind of, you know, like enamored by India and all of that. So then with her wealth, she decided somehow or another she's going to buy a hotel in Sri Lanka. Yeah, like in the Kandy Mountains in Sri Lanka. There was a hotel for sale. She's going to buy it and run this hotel, you know, in Sri Lanka. And she wants her daughter to come with her to help her out. So they go to like discuss it with Guru Maharaj. And Guru Maharaj is like, she's telling Guru Maharaj her plan and everything. And Guru Maharaj's response was, as you like, so you may do. This was like a typical Guru Maharaj's response. As you like, so you may do. If ever we asked Guru Maharaj something and we heard, as you like, so you may do, it was like, that was like a thunderbolt in the heart, you know, because it's like, yeah, whatever you want to do, you know, like do that, do whatever you want to do. Because he knows what he wants, you're not ready to hear that. You don't want to hear that. You want to hear something else. So, as you like, so you may do. Then, and I was there for that like conversation. And then when they came out, then that girl, my god sister, she's telling all the devotees, and Guru Maharaj ordered me to go to Sri Lanka with my mum to open this hotel. You know, it's like Guru Maharaj's direct instruction to me, you know. So, this is my service now, you know. So you have to be clear about what you want. Do you want to know the will of the Lord, or do you want to do what you want to do? And that was the difference, you know, because Guru Maharaj was very much like that. And Srila Govinda Maharaj also, similar to that. He would never order you to do something if he knew you didn't want to do it. You know, I used to have a restaurant, right? And that for a few years we were running that restaurant, and then finally it wasn't making enough money. We had to get rid of it. So when I closed it down, the first thing I did is I went to be with Govinda Maharaj, and he was in Moscow then, and I went to stay with him in Moscow, and we were staying in Bharati Maharaj's house. Bharati Maharaj's got this like big mansion, you know, gated estate, you know, like with guards and everything, you know. So it's like a kind of luxury place. We're staying there, and like the second day or something, I'm sitting there with Janardhan Maharaj was there and a few others, and Govinda Maharaj asking me like about the restaurant, and I said, "Oh, I closed it, Maharaj." He said, "Oh, acha, you closed it?" And I said, "Yeah, it didn't." You know, I was explaining why it didn't make enough money, etc., etc. And then he says, "I never wanted you to do that restaurant." And I'm like, "What?" And I said, "Maharaj, why didn't you tell me when I told you like about it to begin with? Why didn't you tell me you didn't want me to do it?" And he said, "You were so enthusiastic, I didn't want to disappoint you." Oh, okay. So, and he said, "This isn't your service. Your service is to get, like, have other people run restaurants. You don't do that. Don't involve yourself with that. Okay, Maharaj. So, but I could understand, if right at the beginning he'd have told me, no, don't do that restaurant, I probably wouldn't have done it, but I would have been like, I really wanted to do that, I would have been disappointed if Gurudev had told me not to do it. It's something I had to do. I had to learn by my own experience that it wasn't really the right thing to do. So, then, and we saw that with Srila Govinda Maharaj, even more than Guru Maharaj, with Srila Govinda Maharaj, that he would never ask people to do things if he knew they didn't want to do it. Prabhupada used to. He used to really push people. Here, you go to this country and open a center. And you'd have to go with nothing. You'd be sent off somewhere, open and sink or swim. But Guru Maharaj wasn't like that. Govinda Maharaj wasn't like that. But Prabhupada did, and he got fantastic results because of that, didn't he?
That is in a preaching, that was a preaching purpose, so it was already in a transcendental atmosphere.
Yeah.
And often we have things, desires that have to get out of our system before we can, because it's all about perspective, right?
Yeah, so Guru Maharaj was often very much like the family physician, Mm-hmm. He wants to see who you are and what you're about. And, takes a personal interest in that. Anyway, that's my point, is that when anything comes in our front, first of all, part of that meditation will be, in which way do I want to understand this? Because we all have our own agenda, right? We all have our own ideas about things based on our prejudices and our experience in this world and so many things. And we think that we should go in this way. And sometimes that's so strong that not even what our guru says will stop us going in that, even if it's the wrong way. So, then Gurudev would often say, if I told them to do this and then they don't do it, then they'll be guilty of guru aparad, for disobeying their guru. So better I don't say anything to them. Let them go their way and learn their own lesson. So, then you have to understand where you are and what it is you want in life.
When you're young, then it's a bit different than...
It's always different when you're young, yeah. When you're young, you think the world's your oyster, and that everything is very significant and important, and you have your whole life planned out. And we make some adjustment to that plan, but still it's your plan. And really seriously, I can say, with experience, you start to realize, boy, that was a big mistake. Everything. And now I just need to step back and try and understand what the Lord wants from me, and because there isn't anything else, actually. There isn't anything else. And all of our youthful enthusiasm for this and that and all these other things is all just part of the illusion. But sometimes, that's so deeply ingrained in us that sometimes you have to go through that. And you come out the other side with a bit more life experience. Sometimes you need that. Even Srila Govinda Maharaj said that one time, that he's addicted to cigarettes. He was talking about somebody. He's addicted to cigarettes, and therefore that's become a big obstruction in his spiritual life. And he said, but what can I say? How can one cigarette spoil somebody's spiritual life? It has so much power. Then he said, but something he needs to go through, and with some greater life experience, he may come out stronger at the end of that. But then who can say? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says even a wrong path may eventually lead to a right path. So we don't know, and everyone has their own story, and everyone has their own life experience, and the things that they need to go through. They need to learn those lessons, you know. That's how it is in this material world, right? We learn. So those who are very fortunate and intelligent, they learn by hearing from others, from reading the scripture, from seeing the examples of others' lives. They learn from that. And other people, which is most of us actually, we have to learn by our own life experience. You know, Prabhupada used to give the example of the father says to the child, don't put your hand in the fire, you'll burn. And the sensible child, yes daddy, doesn't do that. But the other one, like, ow, oh, oh. They'll never do that again. But our problem is we think, this time it might just like, that was Einstein's definition of insanity, is to do the same thing and expect a different result over and over and over again. So sometimes, you know, like in this material world, we're always thinking that this time our experience will be different. There's a kind of insanity. It's not going to be different. It's going to be exactly the same. It might be a different set of circumstances, but more or less it's going to be the same. So, you know, but sometimes you have to put your hand in the fire to understand that it burns. Just hearing that it's going to burn isn't enough. So, ultimately everything comes down to us. What do I want in life? What do I actually want? And sometimes it needs us to really become exhausted of this material world. You know? Because there's endless configurations of circumstances that you can try, right? Oh, I'm not happy here, let me go and live there, and then I'll be happy. Oh, that didn't work out, then I should do this, and oh no, that's... And there's endless, it's endless. But really it's all the same. Because, you know, wherever you go, there you are. You understand? Doesn't matter how you change your circumstances, you're still there. You have to change yourself. That's the only method that actually works. And the only way to change yourself, Chaito Darpana Marjanam, through the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. That is the only thing that will give us what we desire, really desire. And fundamentally that only boils down to one thing. We want to be happy. We want to be fulfilled. But now we're trying to find that here, there, everywhere, all the wrong places. Because we don't know where to look. But somebody stopped us and said, no, this is where you should be looking. Now, we might have given it a bit of a glance over and thought, yeah, it's all right, not for me though. But really this is where we need to look. But we need to look deeply. We need to look seriously. Then we'll find that's where our satisfaction lies. And, you know, whatever we've done so far, let's deal with that. That's okay. But let's try and draw a line under it and go forward with Krishna consciousness. And by chanting the holy name of the Lord, and you know, no one should minimize this idea that by chanting the holy name of the Lord that we'll progress in spiritual life. Oh, you're just firing blank mantra. No, forget all that. We've been given the holy name of the Lord through the divine agent of the Lord. That holy name is Shuddhanam. And all we have to do now by our practice, try to make that Shuddhanam descend within us, manifest itself within us. Then all of our problems will be solved. Mahaprabhu came to teach the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. He didn't come to teach anything else. All service to the Lord begins and ends with the chanting of the holy name. There's no greater imperative for us in this material world than to take shelter of the Lord's holy name, to try to realize the power of the Lord's holy name, to try to connect with that holy name. Through that, everything else will come. All of our service proclivity, all of our inner nature, everything will be manifest through the power of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. This is the Hare Krishna movement after all, you know. Let's not forget Hare Krishna. Let's not forget that. It's the most important thing, the most imperative thing is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. It's not just something to get out of the way so you can get on with your day. It's the most important part of your day. Take that time to connect with the Lord through His holy name. He manifested it Himself through His holy name. This is how you connect with Him. And when you connect with Him, everything will become perfect. Okay, I think we better stop now. And let's have Arati. Who's the Pujari? You the Pujari?
Ramananda.
Okay, where is he? Is that okay?
Jai Sripad Devashis Guru ki jai.
I'm saying all of this as much for me as I'm saying for you. I also need to be reminded about that.
Bhaja Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai.
Jai Sripad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Varyama Sudara Sabachishimad Bhakti Sundar Govinda Goswami Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Jai Sripad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Varyama Sudara Sabachishimad Bhakti Rakshak Shivashidhar Goswami Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Jai Sripad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Varyama Sudara Sabachishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki
Jai.
Jai Sripad Shiva Gopishore Goswami Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Jai Sripad Shiva Sachitananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki
Jai.
Jai Sripad Shiva Jagannatha Swami Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Guru Guru Varga Ki
Jai.
Namacharya Shiva Haridas Thakur Ki
Jai.
Advaita Vaishnava Vrinda Ki
Jai.
Shri Vladeo Vijay Bhushan Ki
Jai.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Prabhu Ki
Jai.
Shri Radama Shyamananda Srinivasacharya Prabhu Ki
Jai.
Shri Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki
Jai.
Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj Ki
Jai.
Saparsat Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki
Jai.
Saparsat Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki
Jai.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giridhardhan Ki
Jai.
Shri Bhakti Dini Vinasa Shri Simhadev Ki
Jai.
Bhakta Prabha Prahlad Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Durus Maharani Ki
Jai.
Ram Jivani Gil Ki
Jai.
Jantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Shri Dani Shri Damita Ki
Jai.
Vishnu Vaishnava Raja Saba Ki
Jai.
Akanamat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki
Jai.
Sadhu Shakmat Ki
Jai.
Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Vandam Ki Vishnu Vyatita Shakmat Ki Shri Damayapur Ki Shri Damnavati Ki Shri Dam Purushottam Dam Ki Deva Subhadra Jagannath Jiv Ki Shri Govinda Kunda Ki Shri Sata Shiva Ganjadhar Jiv Ki Samaveda Vaishnava Mandam Ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai Gaura
No problem.